Donny, how you doing?
Hey, Jason, how's it going?
So good. I was just listening to Alex's intro and, he mentioned that you built and sold your first startup in 2006 when you were 13 years old. I have to ask, what kind of startup does a 13-year-old build and sell?
Okay, so I definitely wouldn't call it a startup. It was this crappy little website that did it was like a webmaster tools resources site where you can
Hmm.
submit links, check your page rank back in the day. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, it was version one.
Were you part of those like link building programs where you would link to other websites and they would link back to you and then you would all share each other's traffic?
Back when it worked, I definitely did that. Yes.
Yeah, nice, nice. And what's amazing is that you had just arrived in Canada a few years before you started that Webmaster Tools website. Let's forget the fact that you were a tween when you started this. Like, I guess I'd love to hear, like, were there any difficulties getting started as a new Canadian building a business here?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, you really don't need a lot of resources or any money to build websites or build startups. And back then, I mean, there's no Facebook or any kind of social identity. So you can be anyone. So I was this 27-year-old professional, and no one really asked any questions at that point.
And they were dealing with a 14-year-old on the other end. I'm happy that this story ended well. So look, you've done a web design web page or startup. You built a tutoring app. I'd love to know, how did you end up building BlackCart, this e-commerce startup?
So after Reiku, I took on a job. Actually, one of our old investors in Reiku gave me a job at
Uh-huh.
Caravan Ventures. Worked there for about 2 years. Always knew I was going to get back into startups.
Uh-huh.
And then I had an experience. So I was looking for new ideas. Bought these shoes from, I won't name the name, but they're really ugly, didn't fit my feet. And I just had a really bad experience. Realized
Yeah.
that I wasn't the only one with that type of experience. So decided to build BlackCart to solve that problem.
Amazing. And so that's what you guys do. You do a try before you buy sort of situation for e-commerce, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Cool. So you've been building this for a few years now. And my notes tell me that you were still in beta even earlier this year. So tell me, what does it mean to be in beta after building a business for 3 years? Like, how does that work?
I mean, beta is just a label that we use. We've launched. So to give you some genesis, we were
Yeah.
B2C before, and we pivoted.
Okay.
Since
Yes.
2017, we were this Chrome extension that people would install, kind of like Honey, and then they'd be
Yeah.
able to try before you buy from, like 50 different brands.
Hmm.
And then around April 2019, we shifted to what we are today, which is B2B. We help brands increase average order value, increase conversions, and give their customers a really good shopping experience.
So tell me about the pivot. Like, what drove, after investing a couple of years building the extension, even seeing maybe Honey's rapid growth that you were comparing yourself to there. Like, what was the light bulb that said, actually, we've got to go a different direction?
It was not scalable. It was a MVP, very much an
Right.
MVP. We were in logistics, so I had hordes of second market gift cards at
Hmm.
20% off, and every time someone placed an order, I would pay on behalf of that customer, so that if they kept
Uh-huh.
something, we made 20%, and it would get delivered to
Right.
my house, drive to someone's house, make that delivery, do the pickup. I mean, it's not a scalable business model.
Right.
And then at one point, we set up a page for partners with just the
Uh-huh.
email link, and we got some inbound interest. And at that point, it was like, okay, this this makes sense to make that shift now. Now that we figured
And
out that.
so you had a little bid of indication because you had some people sign up on this landing page, but were you worried in the first couple of weeks or months after you did it? Were you worried that you'd made a huge mistake, or did you have confidence the whole way through the pivot?
No, it wasn't that easy. Um, we were making maybe like $2,000 or $3,000 a month at that point, and there was
Uh-huh.
customers that we had to tell no to. So
Hmm.
that was the difficult part, just turning away people that we worked really hard to get. But it
Yes.
was objectively the right thing to do at that point.
So were you funding the business then with the 20% take on the gift card
Yeah.
and those 2 to 3 grand a month? Or how did the business survive in the B2C world before you went to B2B?
we were profitable with the B2C thing, or ramen profitable.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
I did
The good kind of ramen, or like the real, like the discount bin ramen?
no, it was more like craft
Okay.
dinner, 24 for $20 type of profitable.
Yeah. Great. And then when you made the switch, I imagine maybe the buying cycles are a little bit longer. I know you're not going after big companies, but the economics change. You say goodbye to the $2,000 to $3,000 a month. Like, how did you end up, sort of funding the business at that point?
Um, the sales cycle isn't too long for this. It's
Hmm.
typically three-ish weeks for us, where we
Yeah,
start that negotiation process and they convert, and it's a very lightweight integration with their
yeah,
store. But I mean, we already had a lot of the technology built out with our B2C app, so we made some quick adjustments,
yeah.
and it was very fast from there.
Amazing. And so I know that you've done this raise during pandemic times. You've also raised money for Reiku beforehand, like, back in the old world. Tell me, can you sort of like, what's the difference between raising money today and raising money back when you've done it pre-pandemic time?
For me, it was completely different. So
Yeah.
not just related to COVID, but the process. We actually ran the fundraising process this time, whereas before it was just, I might talk to one investor every 2 weeks and hope that
Right.
someone comes on board. Whereas this time we did a lot of prep work. It was a month of prep
Hmm.
work, and then we kind of bundled everyone together in 2 weeks, ran the process, and got the result. But I mean, also related to the pandemic, it was very different. It was all through Zoom. Um, Due diligence took a long time, a lot longer than we were expecting. It was
Yeah.
really easy to get initial meetings set up, but I mean, uh, yeah, it was
So
very
the two
different.
weeks, you set this 2 week sort of like, you tried to dictate the process with 2 weeks and maybe create a sense of urgency.
Right.
Did it take longer than 2 weeks? Ultimately?
Yeah, it took longer than 2 weeks, ultimately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about the raise. So tell us about who's involved. Tell us about the use of funds. Tell us about when it closed.
Sure. So we started around beginning of February and we closed mid-April.
Hmm.
The lead investor who put in $1 million is Struck Capital down in LA. And then we had participation from two other funds, Revel Partners and Oak Ridge in Toronto, Oak Ridge Partners in Toronto. And then there's an AngelList syndicate and a bunch of angels. So, I mean, overall angels was maybe like 50 or 60 out of there.
Wow. Did you go through an angel network, or are these all personal relationships that you cultivated?
Not personal relationship. There was one AngelList syndicate, and
Uh-huh.
then I think 6 or 7 individual angels.
Very nicely done, Alex, with the comment angel list for the win.
Yeah.
Of course, Alex, of course. And so how did you get connected with some of these funds? Are these all relationships that you had previously, or were some of them new to get those first meetings that you went in cold?
They were all new. Um, yeah, all of them were new. It was, yeah, we just ran the process. I mean, we've created that spreadsheet, went
Yeah.
through LinkedIn and try to match everyone, try to hustle for those intros. And then once
Hmm.
we landed the lead investor, they kind of just took that ball, and I think at one point it was 6 or 7 meetings per day, every day for entire week. Um,
Amazing. And now you get to go back to building the company, which is great. So congratulations. Tell us what's next for BlackCart.
we're expanding quickly, so we're actively hiring right now, trying to grow the
Mm,
team on the
yeah.
engineering and sales BD side.
Yeah.
Looking to, I mean, right now is the time, especially with the pandemic that's going on. A lot of
Hmm.
e-commerce merchants needs our help, so we're trying to go fast.
Yes. That's awesome. Well, look, Donny, it's been awesome to have you here. Is there anything else you wanted to share with the TechTO community before we wrap it up?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think right now is a great time to just from my talking to our investors anyway, they're
Uh-huh.
getting back up and they're actively looking for deals. So I think right
Yes.
now is a very good time to go out and raise.
That's awesome. And I'm going to sneak in one question here that just came in under the wire from Mir, who asks, what are the pros and cons of having so many investors? And maybe he's also referring to the individual angels, but maybe you can tell him a little bit about how that is managed too.
So, I mean, other than the lead investor and the main investors, I don't have too much contact with the rest of the angels. They're fairly proactive in making intros for merchants and all that, which is really helpful. But yeah, like there's a lot of strategic value from especially these angel investors who have
Yes.
networks with these the merchants that we otherwise wouldn't be able to talk to. So it's been amazing so far.
That's awesome. And we can also unleash the power of the TechTO community. We can help just like the angels do. So if you've got great merchants that you would love to try before you buy from, definitely send them Donny's way.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
Awesome. Take care.